There again. Thank you for investing the time to get to know me better. I'm ready to get started from the very beginning, and that was in the year 1960. And I was a New Year's baby, and I understand I was born on Aldine, I believe it's Avenue in Chicago, Illinois, to Leonard and Joyce Moss. Okay? And during the first year or two, the best I remember, possibly, I might only be going on the first year, the crib. I remember that. That's about it. I was so young. And I believe in the second or third year of life, probably somewhere in between there, in 1961 or 1962, that year, those years, somewhere in there, my parents relocated to 554 West Roscoe Avenue, 3rd apartment. I remember it perfectly. And photographically, okay, play it back like a movie for about 10-15 seconds worth. I pick up everything perfect. And now that I remember very well. The phone number there was GR2 in the 312 area code. GR2 4075, and my father's office number was 312-236-6781. Isn't that amazing? I would take a guess that I began to really have recollection by the time I was somewhere between 2 to 3 years of age. And the most outstanding aspect is I had a mother. Oh, I had fantastic parents. I'm very, very fortunate. Okay? I remember photographically exactly what my father looked like at that age. And I remember the stories before bedtime. And what was the favorite? It was Curious George. And there you go. That set the foundation from the earliest age. Over and over again, my mother encouraged to build on curiosity. And I am so fortunate in that respect. I am so fortunate. See, I didn't know anything. And I don't know anything. I didn't know at that age what my parents or other people were talking about. I knew nothing. They were grown-ups, you know, and so, sure, I mean, the upbringing at the earliest stage, the theories that, you know, are behind that in the social sciences, I just knew I had very loving parents. I'm taking a guess. I remember 2 to 3 years old, especially 3 forward, vividly. And it was that Curious George, and it was building on that curiosity. And that's me. My father was a certified accountant, and at any time I could call, okay? And my mother, she, I believe, was a student. She was going to Roosevelt University. I didn't know anything about any of that. I just knew that I'd go to my dad's office, and he was, you know, going to these people's locations, and that turquoise may have been an Impala, and you know, it was cool. There were these grown-ups. I didn't have any idea what they were talking about. but my father interacted with many, many very successful people as a certified accountant. I didn't know anything about that. I just knew that I came down to his office with him, and it was really cool because he'd be doing whatever he had to do, and I was just doing my own thing. At that age, the most significant factor that I remember very well is building on that curiosity, a whole new world ahead of me. And I'm learning. I don't know anything yet. And so now, let me say there's many very vivid memories. And I would say, let me share a couple of them. Oh, the putting the pots on the stove. I must have been 2 or 3 years old at the most. And sure, my mom went down to do the laundry in the basement. Okay, I'm going down those back stairs, photographically. And, yeah, she was down there, and I decided to check it out. Hey, she puts something on the stove and turns that knob, and it was straw. Oh my God, I was just absolutely, and I remember head on, she was doing the laundry. I tried to relate. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to explain anything. Thank God nothing happened, because when we got upstairs, back to the 3rd floor, she just nodded at me. She was so loving. And, oh yes, you put a straw, something that looks like a pan on the stove, and it's straw, and turn it on, honestly. And I've learned. I didn't know anything. Thank God that they were very loving as far as that goes. Now, I'm taking a guess that adult substance, I was exposed to at a very early age, and the encouragement definitely was the emphasis to build on curiosity. And we, something happened, and I don't know what happened. I was 3 or 4 or 5 years old. I'd say it was more around 5. And we got a different, says, hey, go to this car instead, and I didn't understand it. Something must have happened. Somebody hit my dad, and there was a new car, but we would go on these trips. I didn't understand any of it. I didn't understand anything more than, hey, come with us. And what they were doing was, as I got a little bit older, I didn't know anything. And one day when I was 7 years old, okay, they said, time to pack up the bags. Now, I went to Nettlehorse Elementary School, and one day in May or June, they said, we're ready to move on to a whole new place that's going to be great. I didn't know what they were talking about. And so we left the apartment behind, and we relocated to Deerfield, Illinois, which that is by far the most significant aspect of growing up. I was so young between 1960 and 66, 67. Sure, I remember everything to the T. Anytime we had there was something that I was building on curiosity, I recall that perfectly. And that was emphasized on me from age 3 or 4, to build on curiosity. Okay? Now, I want to keep this within the context of the date ranges. So, I knew Julie, and there was Ricky. There were neighborhood kids. Oh, at a very early age, some neighborhood kids and teenagers took me to an incinerator room and threatened to throw me in. Wow. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know. They laughed hysterically. They were just playing around. It was a good neighborhood. We were in a very good neighborhood. My parents, my mother, you know, she was a very, very good parent. But that emphasis again, that's what makes me who I am. And a master at building on curiosity, growth and maturity goes on indefinitely. But that came a little later. Okay? See, my parents, I believe, by the time it had to come later. It was building on curiosity first and explaining certain aspects of life, as parents always do. Oh, you're such a young kid. Go to grandparents to walk in the evening, the cousins during the holidays, all of that. I'm extremely fortunate to have come from a very good family. And but at that age, you know, between 1960 and 1966, there's a limitation on how much you know. Okay, you know, come with me and the barber, and you know, and the television. I didn't know anything of what grown-ups knew. I didn't even know what they were talking about. I didn't know what the words meant. I would just do what a young kid does. And your grandma, you know, takes you out to Marshall Fields in downtown Chicago. You know, I was so fortunate, really. And but we grow. That's just a foundation. And the real growth began, I would say, in 1967. It was the last developing community north of Chicago. It was good where things are a whole lot better, but to me, everything was fine anyhow. You know? And, you know, so we went to a new place, and that was in 1967. I understand that I had two operations, which I vividly remember, and it was a birth defect, and it was corrected. Most really loving parents, my dad holding me before going out the front door, the air conditioner by the, I can almost recall head on from that age, photographic memories. I can play it back like a movie too. It's pretty, that's the way I memorize. And I'm taking a guess the curiosity though is the biggest factor that was emphasized. See, because my mother was going for a bachelor's degree in psychology, and she knew what she was doing raising kids. And I didn't know anything at that age about grown-up stuff. Well, anyhow, I'm rambling on in that time period. I'm just going to label this 1960 through 1967. I was born January 1st, 1960. Yes, I know I'm going earlier and later, but I am keeping it within that time range, okay? And thank you very much for letting me introduce myself. Well, let me see how much more time I've got in this video. We may even do these for a half an hour each. And this one has 15 minutes. And I would say, I can share more substance relative to, there is a whole lot more in there, okay? I didn't know it at the time, and I learned it later from my, my parents shared it with me, but, oh yes, it was great. And, see, I didn't know the difference between the grown-up stuff and the building on curiosity. But I do know that what is most outstanding is that photographic memory and playing it back like a movie from age 3 forward. So sure, my sister was a tomboy. Maybe that happened in Deerfield, after 1967. I just know that what I've shared with you, I had a great experience for those first 7 years. So thank you very much. I need to look at the theories as far as the social sciences and childhood development. I have very little experience in that, in that specific sector as far as that field of expertise. And I'm going to pick up in Deerfield from 1967, and I am going to do the best I can to keep it head on. I think just because of its our nature, the way, we're wired, we do go earlier and later, but keeping it within a time range will make it much, much easier for you to understand me. Okay? And so specifically, I, come from an area that was Broadway Avenue and Broadway right by the Lakeshore Drive on Roscoe. There was the Treasure Island. There was the neighborhood candy store. There was the butcher. I didn't understand any of it. I imitated, what just like what I stated. Oh man, I really remember that photographically too. I remember that basement, and that was wow. She was so loving. I didn't know better. I didn't know better. And so, thank you very much for letting me share that with you. Let's get on with 1967, and I'm gonna. There's a whole lot substance with that point forward. Okay. Oh, my grandparents, they lived in a high-rise. God, I remembered it. I remember it all. I'd have to think about it to recall those memory banks in that respect. It's been a long, long time. I may even need to look at a map, but that memory I have is razor sharp. And it's head-on photographically as a movie is perfect. Now, as far as, of course I know the street was Diversey. I believe it was, and just outside downtown, they were up on the 22nd floor. My grandparents, my cousins lived in Niles, would go over there with, Natalie and Larry Hanauer. Oh, it was great. It was really great. But see, I was being told, build on curiosity. So, yeah. And learn it all. It goes on indefinitely. They didn't want to impress any beliefs, and my parents were very good in that respect, and I'm going to cover that considerably more in depth as far as Deerfield. You see, they're building on curiosity, but they knew if they impressed beliefs on me, I would never learn them. But it was emphasized that it goes on indefinitely. And that was so cool. That is such an outstanding aspect to raise a child when my mother did. I am so fortunate in that respect. It's lifelong through today. And they impressed very few beliefs on me. See, because they told me I can learn it indefinitely, but I need to learn it. And of course, your parents are there for wise counsel to correct you, And so good. This is heading up probably towards 20 minutes. So I'm going to label 1960 through 1967. That's 0 through 7. And I'm ready to move on the most significant factors of really growing up. But it goes on indefinitely. Thank you. Thank you very much for investing the time and getting to know me better. And I promise you what I'm going to follow in the following reviews in the proper sector, I promise you, I'm going to give it away to you too, because they gave it to me, the most successful. Thank you. And 20 minutes. So, good. I'm ready to continue on with the next update. 1967 forward.